What's going on, amazing people? It's your man Rick the Dawn, and you know what time it is. I know it's like super late. I had to digest that. I don't like jumping in and just talking and trying to catch people. Look, I'm in competition with no one except myself, and I just had to take some time to really decipher my thoughts and get everything aligned. Before I do that, though, I want to say please check out my podcast, the Really Hood Podcast. We talk about an array of different things. Also, I want to give a shout out to the amazing people who continue to support the channel with likes, subscribes, and comments. Speaking of comments, I want to give a special shout out to these individuals because they commented on my videos. Okay, that's Alexandria A, Elijah B, Connie, Diva 313, Joseph F, Fenric 1978, and Jordan C. All right, just a few individuals who have commented on my videos. I don't just make these just to make them. I like to have discussions, and these special individuals have helped and contributed to those discussions. Now, let's go ahead and jump in. It's a lot here. Goodness gracious. Now, because we have an episode coming right back tomorrow, you're going to see me skip over a lot of content in favor of the more bolder moments in the game. First off, when did Terrence decide to be a super player? I need someone to tell me, if you can please just enlighten me, because I missed something. Like, I've watched every episode. I don't watch the live feed, so obviously I'm missing a lot of material. Can you help me with this one, please? What happened on the live feeds that contributed to Terrence's super fandom? When did he become a super player? Like, this is when I watched this episode, that was the question that kept hitting me in my mind. Like, what? When did Terrence become a super player? When did DJ Showtime become a super player? Because that's all I kept asking myself as I was watching. I want to also take a moment to talk about some of the comments I've heard, Terrence spew out in terms of about Taylor. I mean, did he not learn? I mean, tomorrow, Thursday, Daniel will go home. It's not even a question. And at that point, something that has never been done, that at least as long as I've been watching, for the first time, one player will be responsible for the first 5 people who goes home. I mean, Paloma, Pooch, Ameerah, Nicole, and now Daniel. That's 5 players who all targeted Taylor at some point in the game. They're all going home consecutively. You have to make sure you acknowledge that part, because it's not like, okay, they went home and then they went home and then a couple weeks back. No, they all went home back to back. And guess what? I think everybody is reading my mind here. Terrence is going to be number 6 because he hasn't learned his lesson. But calling her out of her name, calling her H word and all that type of stuff, I think it confirms my earlier points. I told you all, Daniel is not a racist. I know what I look like. I know what animal, but no, the point is, no, he's not. I think that he might have some. I mean, we all have a little bit of that, like, right? I mean, let's be honest here, right? But the point is, I don't think Daniel is the traditional racist. Get out of here! No, it's not that. Daniel is just a player who can be. He's very emotional, right? And Taylor just happens to be black. I think if Taylor was any color, she would rub some people the wrong way. Have you seen Taylor? Taylor is very beautiful. That automatically makes people feel some kind of way because, if they can't. I don't know how to say this without sounding inappropriate, but the point is, Taylor's very beautiful and she's not shy about it. A lot of times people who are high up, they have a lot of this, have a lot of that. People expect them to be humble as to not turn people off. And Taylor kind of missed that class. I mean, have you seen her dance around the parade in the kitchen with the sparkly dress? That left an everlasting taste in people's mouth. And why I say that Daniel's not a racist, because Terrence doesn't like her either. Yeah, even as I say that, I still can't figure out why Terrence has any problem with Taylor. I have no. Wow. So I find out early in this episode that Terrence wants to keep Daniel safe, and I need people to help me with this because, like I said, I don't watch the live feeds. I can't figure out I can't figure out at all. Okay, I'm trying to find where I can't understand why Terrence has decided to turn his gameplay on and why he would ever find it intelligent to save Daniel. Help me out. I need those people I just named at the beginning of this episode to help me figure this out. I don't know everything. All right. I think it was Alexandria who pointed that out. Like, hey, I have a different opinion on certain things. And she was very respectful about it. And that's why I really had to give everybody a shout out because Alexandria, if you're watching, I have no idea of I don't know every aspect of the game. And I need people to help me out. Can somebody explain to me why Terrence decides to exterminate Monty and keep Daniel? Help me with that. But because of that, I think we can soundly say that this is not the cookout. Okay, this is no cookout 2.0. There's a lot of talk about the cookout this week, we can throw that out. I think it's safe to say that that's not going to be the case. I believe Kyle was the one who brought it up, and he was really concerned about that happening. And if you look at the game right now, it definitely seems as if that's a possibility. But the fact of the matter is this: it is not the cookout. And I wish we could just get rid of the cookout at this point, just like throw it away, because it just creates a negative stigma in the game as of right now. I think people want to not be the cookout so much that they are making ridiculous decisions. I think in a attempt to distance himself from the cookout so far, Terrence is going above and beyond, even if that means making the most ridiculous decisions. Or perhaps it's just me and my perspective, because I know a cookout exists. Would I really be upset if Terrence was going after Monty if they both were not black? I can't tell you. I cannot tell you that. But I can tell you from this universe in real time, it just seems like a really bad move. Whether they're both this color, that color, I just don't get it. Okay, I don't get it. I don't get a lot of the things that DJ Showtime says. Okay, I don't get it. But anyway, we go a little further in the episode, and Otev is back. He's rocking some kind of country outfit, and he's like singing. And every time he says sauce, he put like a little razzle dazzle on it. So so I thought that was kind of cool. But I got some news for you. If you didn't see this episode and you just watch my videos because you don't got CBS, you don't got cable or something, first off, I'm sorry, that's the truth. But no, actually, a lot of people cut the cord. A lot of people have cut cable cords, so they don't really have a way. But hey, I'm here to help you. But Otev, the competition is back, and it was amazing. It was really, really interesting. And I have to say, the final two was very surprising. First off, Monty gets axed in this competition. And man, hasn't Monty turned it on? I'm really happy to say that. I've been hearing a lot of talk about Monty being the bigger threat and being such a big threat. And I'm like, wow, this had to just happen, because as far as my calculations go, Michael is still the problem of the game. And it's hilarious. I'll talk about it later. I don't want to get too far off what I'm trying to say. But the point is, Terrence makes it to the final two in the competition with Michael. And actually, Michael does something so smart. And it just shows me how intelligent Michael is and why I still feel like he's like by far the best player in the game. He makes some kind of deal, or what do they call it? Some kind of, basically, he's on the platform with Terrence, and I think Michael was starting to fear a little bit. He's a little scared, like, hey, Terrence could actually win this by the whim of his teeth, because this competition was a little different. You have to know the competition that Otev is talking about. Then you have to find the piece that correlates to what Otev is talking about. And then you have to run back and pull yourself up. So it's a lot of different elements in this competition, which makes it so special. And I think Michael realizes that this could also fall down to who's, more fortunate to find that piece. So he starts to hedge his bets. He's like, okay, I'm going to bet on myself, obviously, but let me go ahead and hedge my bets and say, hey, Terrence, if you win, we go for Monty. So I thought that was ingenious on Michael's part, because in doing so, he made Terrence feel safe. And because of that safety net that Terrence felt, that imaginary safety net, I don't think that Terrence goes as hard to find the piece that he needs. And by the time he finds it, he looks up and Michael's already on the platform, ready to give out his Otev sauce. And I was like, great move, Michael. Now, everybody is thinking the exact same thing once Michael gets on the platform. Everyone's saying, oh, crap, here we go. The leftovers are doomed, because Michael is going to throw this competition, and he's going to pretty much, even though he didn't let Terrence win it, he's going to pretty much keep nominations the same, and so forth and so forth. So we are just kind of biting our teeth, not really knowing what's going to happen. But yes, Michael wins another challenge, and he said something that's hilarious in this episode. He says, hey, maybe this will be my last my last competition win, because I don't want to be seen as a threat. And I could not help myself. I think I blurted out, you're already a threat. Like you can't, Michael, you couldn't be any more of a threat. I mean, it was baffling to me. It's like either he's being very modest, humble. Like I told you, people, when someone's like really gifted, we expect them to be humble about that gift. And maybe that's what that was. Hey, I've already won about 7 competitions. If I win another one, I'll be a threat. So I'm gonna chill out. And you know what's funny? As soon as I heard him say that, I still thought to myself, there's no way he's gonna start winning competitions, because he was supposed to start winning competitions 3 competitions ago. Okay, so that's when I knew there's no way that Michael's gonna start throwing competitions. But anyway, he wins. He claims that he's gonna stop winning competitions, and we already know that's not it. That's not in his DNA. He said he doesn't want to be perceived as a threat. So my question to anybody watching this is, is Michael already as big as a threat as he can get? If he stops winning competitions from this point forward, will his threat level drop at all? For me, the answer is not at all. I think he's already proven himself to be just too tough for this game. But anyway, once Michael does win the competition, then you see Terrence starting to come up with this master plan. Woo! He comes up with this master plan. He's talking with people in the house for the first time I've ever seen this season. So shout out to Terrence. It's the most comical gameplay I've ever seen. Trust me, I've watched a lot of Big Brother. This is probably one of the top cringe-worthy gameplays I've ever seen. But he's going around, he's rallying up votes against Monty. And I think he gets about 5 people to align with him, which was pretty, interesting, depending on who you ask. I believe those 5 people being Indy, Alyssa, Daniel, him, that being Terrence. And I forget the 5th person. It's another person in there somewhere. I can't figure it out. But essentially, he gets about 4 and some change, 4 people to align with him to take out Monty. And perhaps the 5th person is Michael. That's the person I might be thinking about. But we all know why that wasn't the case. But the point is, he starts to rally up these votes. And then, oh my gosh, then there's a really cringe-worthy moment in the game where Daniel and Terrence are talking to the live feeds, and they're saying, this is how you play the game. Terrence has like a good 30-second monologue about how you play the game. This is the way you do it. And everybody has to be thinking the same thing, unless you are a Terrence sympathist and you really love his gameplay. Everybody is feeling the same way. We're all cringing and laughing on the inside like, Terrence, not only are you wrong, not only do you not have the votes to actually do anything this week, you just started playing today. You've played a grand total of 24 hours of the Big Brother game. It was fun to watch. I'll say that. It was fun to watch. And even at this moment, because I don't watch the live feeds, but even at this moment, I believe that Terrence still thinks that he has the votes to keep Daniel safe. And it's like, at what point will it start to sink in that, going on the block as a threat is just not the cool thing to do this season, okay? Even if you feel like you have the votes. But I will say this is definitely not your father's cookout, because Terrence is what is he? Terrence is saying nasty things about Taylor. Terrence is targeting Monty, so there's certainly some infighting there. And by no means is this a cookout 2.0. So Kyle can rest easy. Monty's HOH reign. Now I believe that Monty was a huge target in this episode, and here's my theory: when Nicole goes out instead of Taylor, whether Monty realizes it or not, he becomes tied to Taylor in a very weird way. I think a lot of people start to perceive Monty as being aligned with Taylor, and it's just not, showing itself, or the alliance is under wraps. But I feel like a lot of people are already starting to get skeptical. Like, wait a minute, why didn't Taylor go home? Why didn't Monty do this or do that? I think people are starting to put the 2 and 2 together, not realizing that it's not just 2 people aligned, that being Monty and Taylor, but a lot of people actually aligned. And as a result, people are targeting Monty at a stronger clip than I expected this early. And I was trying to figure out why, but I think towards the end of the episode, I start to say to myself, it could be because of Taylor, because he saved Taylor, and he did it alone. I mean, you saw how Daniel reacted when Daniel saw Nicole go home. Who did he go after? He didn't go after Michael or the 9 people who voted against Nicole. I mean, it was 9-1. So he had 9 people to go after. In fact, Monty didn't even vote. Monty actually wanted to keep Nicole safe that week. So of all those people, why does he take all the blame? And I believe it's because of Taylor. All right, he's taking some of the residual firestorm that Taylor would be receiving, but he's actually taking it. And I think that's why Terrence is going after him and things of that nature. So that's just my personal opinion. Now, several times in this episode, Michael said himself, okay, this is very strange to me. Michael says, or he alludes to Monty being the biggest threat in the game. You have to help me with this, okay? If you watch the same thing that I've seen, and if you've been watching the season since the first episode, at what point did Monty eclipse Michael as the biggest threat? I mean, he has an HOH win. Okay, that's fine. But at what point does Monty become the bigger threat, or a bigger threat than Michael? And you see a lot of people trying to talk to Michael and steer him towards a vote, or at least keeping the nominations the same so they can take out Monty. I just found that hilarious. Now, I start thinking to myself, I don't think that these players are playing the game correctly, because you have four or so people go up to Michael and say, hey, keep the nominations the same. We have this master scheme to backdoor Monty. And of course, they don't have any clue of the Leftovers Alliance. But I felt to myself, they're making the wrong pitch because they're pitching to the biggest threat in the game, that being Michael. And they're saying, let's get rid of Monty because he's the biggest threat in the game. And what they're telling Michael on a subconscious level is, hey, we're afraid of great players. And as such, Michael being the mastermind that he is, he has to see this. He has to say, well, if I get rid of Monty, then I don't have an opportunity to play for HOH next week. Therefore, I'll be vulnerable. And if you all are going after the biggest threats in the game, that would certainly be Michael next. So Michael has to start thinking and doing his calculations. Wait, why would I get rid of Monty? Because he's the biggest threat in the game. And then if I do that, what happens to Michael the following week when he has no safety net? Because Michael is so intelligent, he quickly figures out that, wait a minute, I've had too many people come to me, about 4 people or so come up to me and try to, campaign against Monty within a 2-hour time span. He even says it himself. He says this effort was coordinated. They didn't space it out. They just came one after the other, after the other, after the other, which makes Michael become very suspicious. And as such, he absolutely abandons his plan to backdoor Monty. Smart move, Michael, right? Because if he gets rid of Monty, it will be immediate gratification. In essence, it would get rid of a tough player. But next week, when Michael has no safety net, can't play for the HOH, he'll be on the block, possibly because apparently these 4 players are trying to get players out the game. So I had to give a little credit to Michael because he was able to figure that out probably better than I would have been able to. All right. And the numbers were really simple. It was going to be maybe 4 votes to 7. The cookout is still 7 strong. So the other side of the house, no matter how much they campaign, it's just really nothing they can do. Okay, it's really nothing they can do. And then it doesn't help that the players that are in this perceived alliance of 4 or 5, whatever it is, outside of the Leftovers Alliance, it doesn't help that group does not really have any competition threats. Don't forget, even though this game is all about social connections and relationships, it's about athleticism, and you have to be able to compete in these HOHs and these veto competitions to have power. Now, when Jasmine is the strongest player in your alliance and she has a sprained ankle, that tells you just have no shot at this game against these other players on the other side. Okay, it's just not going to happen. What's going on, DJ Show? Yeah, I talked about that already. So I have to ask this question here. Who is your worst players this season? I wanted to ask that question, and maybe I'll do a video about it tomorrow. I didn't want to do too many videos because we have another show coming up tomorrow, but I have to ask this question. Who is the worst player or player? Yeah, who's the worst player in the game right now? And I won't reveal my answer. I just want to know if anybody is watching the video this far and can answer that question for me. Oh my gosh, this was something that was extremely surprising, extremely crazy. So once we get to the veto nomination speech situation, Michael and Brittany announced that they are going to take down Terrence, Joseph, and Monty, which everybody seemed surprised. I should say Daniel and company seemed surprised. Alyssa seemed pretty surprised. I saw her face. And then they elect to put up Daniel and Kyle. And we all know that Kyle will be safe. So Daniel can pretty much read the writing on the wall. But what was more shocking than putting Daniel up was the speech that Michael gave. He actually quoted something that Daniel said in about what was it, week 2, where he told Taylor that she had rubbed a lot of people wrong in the house that week and that she had needed to mend some fences and things of that nature. Michael quotes Daniel and uses it against Daniel. And let me just tell you, it got so quiet in my house when we heard that. We couldn't believe that Michael did that. Michael is something else. All right. I've told you, if I haven't told you once, I've told you 100 times. I really like this kid. This guy is like just listen, you never go against Michaels. Michael Jordan, Michael Tyson, Michael Phelps, Michael Johnson, Michael Jackson, Michael Tyson, like anybody named Michael, it's just like it just got some kind of gift, man. Like it's extreme and it's very noticeable. Like it's ridiculous. So I saw that, and I have to say this. When I heard him say that, I said to myself, if Michael wins this season, it is without any question, he is the GOAT of Big Brother. I don't know any player who has openly won competitions this much and still won the game. Okay, now, if you don't know, my number 1 player all time right now is Derek. Derek was just amazing. He was a strategic mastermind. But What Michael has over Derek is that he plays every part of the game well. Perhaps if he gets voted out, you would be able to argue that the strategy part of his game wasn't too shabby because he's winning too much. But if he still wins this game, it's not even a question to me if Michael is the best. Michael will be the absolute go to Big Brother, and that's including everybody because I've never seen anybody do it this way. Sure, you got some players out there who make a. First off, Derek is always going to be in the conversation. Dr. Will always be in the conversation. There's some other great players too, Dan maybe. But I'm just saying that those players for me were very strategic. But this is one of the first times I've seen a player be strategic and also a physical specimen. And he's not even like this super cock diesel guy. I mean, this was insane to me. But anyway, at the end, the most funniest part of this episode happens, okay? At the end, the funniest thing happens, and Terrence, after realizing that Daniel was on the block, he says one of the most funniest, unself-aware, baffling things I've ever heard. Terrence, he says, "Don't worry, America, DJ Showtime is going to save Daniel. He's going to pull him off the block." It's like, wait a minute. Hold up. Rewind. So wait, you're DJ Showtime. Okay. You're going to somehow flip the house against Kyle and save Daniel, and then you're going to apparently, I think he made some allegations towards winning something in the future and basically taking shots at Michael, whoever. I just found that to be. I was like, wow, and for me, it was evidence that even if you watch the live feeds, you still don't really have this super grip on the game because Terrence himself is in the game and he can't figure this out. He can't figure out that he has no shot at saving Daniel. He can't figure out he has no shot at winning a competition. I told you, Terrence is going to be right at least twice this season. I just don't. But DJ Showtime is going to save Daniel. Wow, that was new. But then Michael has another amazing moment. This was absolutely Michael's episode, in my opinion. Of course, I have my own perception and I'm looking for certain things I'm looking for. But Michael certainly makes me happy when he tells America that, hey, well, actually, he's talking to Nicole almost. He says, Nicole, if you're alone or you're lonely, don't worry about it. Have some competition. I mean, some company, and basically alluding to the fact that Daniel's on his way out the house to join Nicole. I just thought that was amazing. But anyway, I'm going to end this here, and my next episode I'll be doing in maybe 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to take a look at tomorrow and see what happens. I mean, even though it is very clear what happens, I still want to analyze just a pinch and perhaps talk about the next competition, because in this episode they also talk about tomorrow's competition, and it's supposed to be a famous endurance competition. And when I heard that, I'm like, okay, is this the one where they're always like they're on a wall and the wall is like tipping forward? It sounded something to that effect. So I'm expecting that. And because of that, most likely we will not see the winner except on the live feeds. But with that being said, thank you for tuning in and kicking it with your main man. I know I'm a little late, but I'm never too late, right? But anyway, I'll see you in a moment. Peace.